Hello, I am Jill Ragg and welcome to Excellent Wife in Training. I have been waiting many weeks to make this video, but as you know, life is very busy. So today we're going to talk about homeschool planning, and I would not consider myself naturally an organized person. I can handle a pile here and there in the house. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't have to clean to be happy. And so I usually shock people when I tell them that I am not naturally organized. But that is the joy of the Holy Spirit and how He works through us in giving us many children. And in leading us to the path of homeschooling, I have had to learn more and more self-control as far as how to manage our home, which includes our school, so that we don't live in a constant state of chaos. And the more organized I am, and yet flexible and loving, the more we can accomplish in our home. So I want to go over some things that are my staples, and hopefully I'll be able to address younger kids and older kids a little bit, but I'm probably going to intermingle it. So if you just have older kids or just youngers, you're going to have to listen to both sides. But I was a teacher education major in college. I specialized in elementary ed, emphasis in English, and I was able to teach 5th grade for 2 years in a private school, and I had about 18 kids in my class. So there were a few things that I picked up on as a teacher ed major in college, as well as teaching in the actual classroom. And of course, one of those is using a planner and planning my days. But here's the irony. I took classes in college on how to teach math, how to teach literature, how to teach science. I took a class on teaching art to children where we literally were making things out of construction paper. I learned all kinds of classes on how to teach children. There was only one class in my college that was an elective for a teacher ed major, and it was called classroom management. Now, the irony is that it was an elective, but I'm a firm believer that if you do not have management of your class, or in this case, your children, how are you going to teach them anything? So I did not take that class for credit, but I did audit it. And I sat in because I realized even before I taught a classroom that if you can't have order, if you're afraid of holding the line or having discipline in your class or even with your children at home, how are you going to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish to teach them? So with that as the fundamental principle, we obviously train our children within our home. We believe that God has called us to prepare them for adulthood, which includes respectfulness and diligence, self-control, working heartily with all their might, doing their work as unto the Lord, loving one another, being patient, not being frustrated and angry when they can't accomplish things. So the number one thing really that we are teaching in our school, in our children's lives, but because our home and our school intermingle, is character. It is the number one thing. And so I like to say that in our home, academics are second. First of all is character. And so there are times when school has to go out the window because we are working on character. However, school can only go out the window so many times. There's many times you have to persevere and just say, you know what, we have to do this no matter what. So hold all those things I say in the balance. If you have questions about anything I say, please send me a comment, message me through Instagram or Facebook, whatever you can find, because I don't want you to do something in your homeschooling from half of what I said and maybe not all of it. So if you want clarity, I'm more than happy to give it to you. So the real change came for me in my homeschooling when child number 4 was born. We had 3 kids when I started kindergarten homeschooling with my oldest. So when child number 4 was born, I now had a child going into 1st grade, a child going into kindergarten, a 2.5-year-old, which as you know, requires constant training and instruction, and a newborn who needed to be nursed many times a day. He did need to see my face, he needed to be held, he needed to nap. And so I was I realized I was in over my head. I now had 2 kids to school. How in the world was I going to do this and train a toddler and nurse a baby? So I began scouring which curriculum I believed would work best for us, as well how in the world I was going to accomplish all I needed to do in the day: teach the children, train the children, cook 3 meals a day, and still have energy to spend time with my husband at night, as well as church service, friendships, family relationships, holidays, birthdays, keeping the house clean. So a lot of people, you know, are concerned, I won't be able to homeschool and keep the house clean. You're right. The standards may have to change. So always keeping before you, doing the best I can with my home, but also recognizing that souls are eternal. So at that time, I ran across this book. It's called Managers of Their Homes, and it is a practical guide to daily scheduling for Christian homeschool families. So this book revolutionized my life. It helped me to plan everything I need to plan for the children. It has several schedules in the back with all different kids' ages and family sizes. This family has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children and mom. How is that possible? Well, here's what one mom did. This family has 3 children. This one has 4. This has a 2-year-old. This one has a newborn. So super, super helpful. But the thing I love about it is that she gives a lot of the why, understanding how to put it together, what to prioritize, and it's put out by Titus2.com. It's really the only place you can buy it. And when you buy it through them, you have a way to access their online computer program to make your schedule. I don't have that today. I've talked about it in the past on eWit, but go look at Titus2.com and look at this book, Managers of Their Homes. And it is something that any family could use to schedule their days to make sure that everyone's getting the attention they need. But it is super specifically for homeschool families when you're trying to school and keep a house and love your husband and have a life even beyond those things. So how are you going to run a homeschool if you don't have a plan? Another thing that I do in homeschool planning is plan for my child as a whole, each child. And this is frequently a New Year's resolution type of, how are the kids doing? What about this new year? But because of the flow of seasons with school, I tend to think it at the beginning of the school year. This is a book I found really helpful. It's not like uber spiritual necessarily. There is an influence of biblical ideas in here, but it is called Laying Down the Rails, and it's about training habits in the Charlotte Mason style. And so the character books are fabulous, but this one also teaches all different things about manners habits, mental habits, so paying attention, remembering, thinking, memorizing, etc. It has moral habits, physical habits, and religious habits. And I can see in here where several years ago I wrote down each child's name next to a habit I wanted to work on with them that year. So I like to plan not only what are my children learning this year, but what habits do they need to work on? What are they weak in? And how do I need to be purposing in their character, not just in their academics? I hope those ideas are helpful. A year after I started Managers of Their Homes, and I got our family into a schedule, and I was able to give each child attention. I was able to teach the first grader, the kindergartner. I was able to keep up with the house and still have time for my husband at night. Then I started Managers of Their Chores. Same company, similar looking book, but I absolutely loved their chore system. It has a little pack, and I'm sorry, I'm in a rental house, and my sample pack I keep to show you is not handy, but it clips onto their clothes, and I laminated each card, and they move a card from the front to the back, and they do all their chores that way, and then they clip it back on the ribbon or whatever when their chore time is done. And throughout the years in our busy home with 6 people, 6 children, plus me, home 24/7, our house gets dirty because we live there. It's not a model home. And so to keep it in some semblance of order. Everyone had to help, and we spent about an hour every morning doing chores, and that was from brushing teeth and making beds to emptying the dishwasher, cleaning the floors, cleaning up the cat litter, vacuuming, dusting, dishes, etc. So one of the next things I like to do in a busy school year is plan ahead what food I am going to make. And this I did primarily until my youngest child was about 8 and was able to prepare things or have siblings help him prepare food. But I made a schedule. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but basically this is what it looks like. And right now it's in a chart that stands on the counter because our house was on the market, but that way I could tuck it away. But this was typically taped up on a cabinet in our kitchen, and it says what we're going to eat for breakfast and lunch on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. And so it rotated every day, but every day of each week was the same. So every Monday, because it was kickoff day for the week, I didn't want to get behind making pancakes. So we always had cold cereal on Mondays, and then for lunch, I would pick up whatever was on deal at Costco in the frozen section. So that would be like chicken strips or pizza bites, and we had a frozen item for lunch. Another day might be oatmeal and macaroni, or pancakes and sandwiches, smoothies and toast with quesadillas. So having this written down kept me from having to make 1,000 decisions a day. Again, another way to keep chaos out of your life by pre-deciding things you can do. When my kids were older, we stopped using the chore packs, and this is just a sample of a chore chart I printed off of Pinterest that hung in my kitchen. And your kids should get to the age where you're not constantly having to check their chores, but just keep in mind that what you don't check often isn't done. So you have to schedule into your day a time to go around and check their chores. I usually start a whole chore pack around 3 years old, and I follow them around for a whole year doing their chores with them. So I hope that's helpful as far as management of the whole big picture, keeping the house clean, keeping on plan, prioritizing what needs to actually get done, and having your children do work with you. They're part of the mess. In fact, they're probably most of it, and so they come along to help. And not only do they help you clean and keep the house going, but you are preparing them for adulthood. You are training them in being responsible adults and realizing that they're not just going to be catered to their whole lives. And such useful skills to know how to care for a home and pick up messes that they didn't make, which is parenting. So lots of good ideas out there. These are just the things that worked for us. But there are obviously other chore systems, other scheduling systems. But these are the things that saved my life as a mama at the point when I had 4 kids. We went on to have 5 and 6. So thankfully we had this scheduled down. And that's one of the things I also wanted to mention is I used to have a schedule on the wall for years. I would laminate it and it looked like this, with each person being a different color on our schedule. And it was always me and then the baby, and then it went on to the older children. But there came a time when we had done such a same schedule for so many years that I no longer had to post it, because it's become the rhythm of our home. And so the more years you school, you get into a rhythm of what really works for your family, and everyone just kind of knows. And the muscle memory of each day is just such a gift of God that we can establish habits like that and have a muscle memory and just know, what am I supposed to be doing? What's the next thing?